An important part of putting together a show is the ability to bring a playwright's character to life while still allowing for creative control. Throughout rehearsals, the cast of Our Town was given a set of character development questions to assist with this process. These questions brought forth the theme of taking something for granted, present in the show and acted as an inspiration for this video.
Hi, I'm Angel Thomas, and I am in my third year at LSU, and I am Emily Webb in Our Town.
I'm Marielle Lambert-Scott. I am a sophomore, and I'm playing the stage manager. My stage manager is the guardian of the hearth and home, a very nurturing kind of person.
Hi, I'm Sydney Prohaska, and I play one of the stage managers. My stage manager is the goddess or the guardian of love, marriage, and harmony. I am a graduating senior. I graduate in May of this year.
My name is Fa'ama Epa Laupola. I play the stage manager. I'm the guardian of death and time, and I'm a senior.
Hi, I'm Rain Scott Catois. I'm a freshman, and I'm playing Simon Stimson.
I feel like I take my friends for granted. I feel like I isolate myself from them a lot, and I know that they are always there for me, even when they don't need to be, or when I feel like they don't need to be. I feel like they're pretty solid.
I really take for granted my family. I relied on them a lot when I was younger, in high school, middle school, and I don't think I realized how much of a support system they provided for me until I got to college, and they weren't there to wake me up in the morning and feed me healthy dinners and make sure I did all my homework, and I really took that for granted until it wasn't there anymore.
For me, I find that time is something that I often take for granted. I try to stay busy, keep every moment filled with something, and I forget to just take time for myself and take time for the people that matter and the things that matter. I'm often bombarded with work, whether it's from school or from my job or just in life. I tend to fill every single second of every single day, and I find that that's when I am not happy and when I'm most stressed, and that's something you have to overcome and that you have to learn from.
I personally take waking up for granted. I say that because every day people usually don't want to wake up and go to class and stuff, and I get that, but I think waking up is a privilege because it's another day of life, and some people don't get that.
Something I take for granted would be the basic necessities of life, like food, water, shelter, things that I expect to come to me that I've always had. But when you think about it, not everybody has those things. So it's just something I've always expected of life and I've always gotten, so it's definitely something I take for granted.
Something Emily takes for granted is time. Emily doesn't really grasp the concept and a full understanding of time and how quickly things can pass you by when you don't take a step back and allow yourself a moment to breathe and allow yourself time to experience the things that are going on around you. And it's not until the end of the show that she really understands that things just, life goes on whether you notice it or not, and there are a lot of times where you just need to take a step back and just take it all in.
My character really takes for granted their knowledge, their omniscience. They know everything that's going to happen before it happens, as it's happening. They know the outcomes of the consequences of these people's actions. They've seen this story a million times, and they don't realize how much that knowledge benefits them, how precious that knowledge is until they're confronted with these moments in the play where the characters don't know what's going to happen. They'll say something like, I don't know how that's going to end, and I do know how that ends, and it's kind of a shocking revelation.
As a stage manager, my role doesn't really take anything for granted in particular, but tries to teach the people of Growers Corners the different things that they necessarily take for granted. And I find that my stage manager is very involved with various moments of George and Emily's life and the Gibbs' life and the Webb's life, and finding those moments of happiness and joy and just absolute travesty and, finding the beauty in all of that.
Something my character takes for granted is time. And I say that because the stage manager role that I play always checks the watch, and we have moments where we're interrupting scenes, and basically we're trying to condense the whole story of Grover's Corners into a play, and I only want certain parts of the story to be told, and therefore I'm manipulating time.
The thing Simon Stimson takes for granted is life itself. And while that seems kind of obvious, it's something that he doesn't find any joy in living his life once he realizes that it's not the way he wanted it to turn out. And so by taking his own life, he completely takes it for granted by, instead of finding a better way to live or looking at the brighter side, he just kind of lives in that horrible place and then just gets rid of it without realizing how great it could be.
I feel like I am able to bring Thornton Wilder's vision of Emily to life because Emily and I both realize eventually that life matters, and not just life, but also living life, and the little experiences and even the big moments, and all those things together create who you are, and I feel like that makes me perfect for this.
So I think Wilder's vision with the stage managers is that they're removed from the reality of the play, and I think that disconnect between my stage manager's knowledge of the world and the ignorance that the other characters are in highlights what Wilder wants us to take away from this play, which is we take for granted so much. We take for granted those tiny little moments that, looking back on, are so special and define our relationship with other people, but in the moment we don't realize how precious they are. And I think that is what Wilder wants us to know, and I think that that's what my stage manager brings to the production.
I find that myself and my character both try to find balance in the universe and balance within themselves and myself. I find that having balance between work and school and family is very important, and you find that balance through just life and through the challenges that you face and learning what's important and what's not important.
So knowing that my character takes time for granted, and throughout the rehearsal process it's become easier for me as a person and actor to kind of portray that at every rehearsal, because it's like, as a stage manager, I have so much to put into this amount of time, and I want the most important parts that everyone takes for granted in Grover's Corners to be portrayed for the audience. And at the same time, as a person, I need to understand that life is precious. We're born, we live, we die, and life itself is time. That I should go about my life living every moment to the fullest, even the mundane ones, because there's a lesson to it.
I actually found I was way more connected to Simon Stimson than I ever thought I would be. When I found out I was playing the town drunk, I was like, I don't really relate to that at all. But then, through the rehearsal process and coming up with this elaborate backstory for him and finding his love of music being so prominent in his life, I found how much I actually relate to that. It's something that is also extremely important for me and in my life is music and this passion and this dream to like keep going. Where we depart is whenever he gets, so discouraged that he, can't find good in anything anymore. But I understand that, and I understand not wanting to live in a small town and having that one thing that makes you happy, music, is something that I really relate to, and I think that's something that we have in common and why I can bring him to life in that way.
I think this theme is important to the youth in our community because it paints a picture of how to create a life you want to live, and it reminds us to enjoy the life that we live.
I think that if there's anything that students take away from the message of this play, it's to really relish those small, everyday moments, because you don't realize how important and how special they are until you no longer have them, until you can't get back to that. And even if you could, it wouldn't quite be the same. I think that's the most important thing to take away from this, is to just relish the small things.
Especially teenagers, you find that time moves really fast. One second you're a freshman in high school and you're experiencing dances and love and new friendships for the first time, and then you're a senior in college and you're about to enter into the real world and, whatever that definition for you is. And I find that when you're young, you don't recognize the moments of importance, and you spend too much time thinking about the what ifs and what if this or what if this decision isn't correct for me, and finding when you're at that point in your life where you've made a bunch of decisions and you're about to make another giant life decision, to really spend time focusing on what matters and focusing in the moment and focusing on taking everything in instead of wanting it to move fast.
Something students should take away, I think our town has at least two themes that they should take away from, and it's appreciate life while you have it, even the mundane ones, even the bad days, good days, and you will see that in Emily's story. And the other thing is to do what makes you happy, not what other people want you to.
I think the theme of our town is really significant to students because I feel like a lot of students might take their education for granted. It's something that we kind of expect to go through, 12 years of high school, 4 years of college, and then go off into our careers, but it's actually such a great experience that not everybody gets to have, and I think it's really important that we remind ourselves why we're here and how lucky we are to be here.